Hello and welcome to Plunder Basics. I am Guy Rheuark, and today I was going to paint some terrain. I recently picked up this Firelock Games thatched house. It's kind of nice. I got it at my local game store, and I did it because I don't have a lot of houses. I have a lot of trees, rivers. I have some other stuff, and I needed a house because you need a house in at least, I think, 3 different scenarios you need a structure. I did have some basic structures. This is a Watchtower that I made for myself because I play militia a lot, and militia can actually take defensive structures like this relatively easily. This is 2 points. It has a spot for a swivel gun that you can mount up there. And it gives you a 4-inch height. So you get the +1 on saves to your opponents that you shoot. It can fit, by rules, only 6 models up here, but there's room for I think I maxed it out at 10. And I got this out for this Plunder Basics video because these are similarly constructed. They have wooden walls, and they each have a thatched roof. Roof thatching is one of the most common types of roofing in history. It is layered straw. There was another couple steps to it other than layering the straw, but it is one of the most resilient types of roofing there is. You do have to replace it every once in a while because it's straw. It's gonna mold and do funky stuff, but for weathering, it was cheap and it was effective, so it's used everywhere. Probably wasn't the best, but it wasn't as leaky as people would say it was in the modern days. There was a science to thatching a roof with hay. So I got this because I'm going to do a similar color. I'm going to start with my Everland Sunset on the roof part, and I'm going to do my brown, a nutmeg brown, because I want to finish up this bottle for the wood parts. So that's simple painting. I've done that before. Why am I making a video about it? Well, I am because from my whole sloop video, I have something called the towel method that I realized when I was writing my sloop article. You guys should check that out. I was using the towel method a lot, so I thought I would do a video about it. All the towel method is when you have a large model like this, usually a ship, you have a couple different things that you can do to paint it. For one, you don't want to hold it while you're painting it like this. That is bad because as you're painting and you rotate it, you might get wet paint. You might get wet paint on your offhand, but that hand is also going to rub stuff off. There's a couple different things that will cause paint to be rubbed off. The chief thing among them is friction. Any sort of friction is going to cause paint to be rubbed off. That's from rubbing. It's from abrasiveness. It's from sliding around on something. And then the other thing is our hands are naturally a little bit of oily. That's how we make fingerprints, is that our hands secrete a kind of not a lubrication, but they secrete an oil. And that is important for skin because it makes it so we can hold things, and it makes it so our cells don't die. But when you are painting, especially with an acrylic paint, the oil in your hands is going to act with the paint and help the paint be rubbed off. So there are a couple ways that people usually combat this. One is they will mount their miniature or their thing. And I've done that before. I have my pill bottles right there, and I have some poster tack. That's this right here. It's a stretchy adhesive, but it doesn't really damage anything unless it's on a painted. It will damage painted some things, but you usually don't paint the bottom of it. So you have a wad of this. You put it on there. You make sure it's sticky, and you take your model and you stick it to it. Oh, I just snapped off a bow. Nice. And then then you can paint, and when you're ready to take it off, it comes off. Usually if it's been on there a long time, the poster tack is going to adhere a lot more, so it'll be a little bit trickier to take off. That's why I use some scraping tools, like these tweezers right here, so it will just scrape it off. So that's one way that you can do it with models, but as you noticed, this thing will not fit on a pill container. Like, I guess I could kind of like poster tack like that. But in my experience, when I do that, weight, things that weigh, it means things that weigh a bit, like a ship, I will not be able to tack to my kind of make it as easy as I want to. So the next thing that people might do is they'll take a larger kind of surface to mount something to. So this is some gesso. It is some oil acrylic, and like you see, you'll take the poster tack and you'll get in there, and that's not obviously not how much I would use if I was trying to do this. So you'll take it and you'll adhere it, and because it has a larger surface area up top and it's generally heavier, then that will make it so the object doesn't fall off as easily. I've used this initially for when I was painting a bark. I actually stuck it to the top. I tried it with a sloop, but the sloop was too heavy. So the next method that people will do to paint a large object and not get paint on their hands, and not, if they can't do that, not get paint on their hands, people will usually just get paint on their hands. The next thing that they might do is gloves. These are some vinyl gloves that I picked up. I'm gonna put on one right now. So what gloves do is that whole thing about the oil on your hand. Gloves don't have that oil on them. So as long as you're wearing gloves, this one tore on me. I got one size fits all, but my hands are too big for them. Like, I need extra large gloves, but because of the plague, there isn't a lot of gloves that are available. I used to get, when you're painting, you can go the extra mile and buy like the expensive gloves. So I usually got the polyurethane because they were a little bit more expensive, but unlike in a healthcare environment, as a painter, you can reuse them. You're going to get a little sweaty on the inside, but what you can do is you can, when you take them off, turn them inside out and let them dry out, and then use them the next time. So this is my ill-fitting glove, and that is probably what I'm going to wear today as well, which is why I burned 3 of them by putting holes in them. So people will hold the glove, and you still have to be careful because friction will cause the paint to rub off, but there's a lot less friction on a glove because it's not your skin. Your skin, with the fingerprint and the creases and everything, the hand is actually made to grasp things. It has a rough surface, or rougher than, smoothness. It has a rough surface because as humans, we need to be able to hold things in our hands. The glove is a smoother surface, so you're not able to do that as well. This is also why you wouldn't wear if you're going to wear gloves, don't wear a type of work glove that has a textured surface on it, because then you have the whole friction problem again. So the glove is one way that people do to combat this. The way that I am going to do today, like I guess this has been 8 minutes so far, the way that I'm going to do today is I am going to try painting using my towel method. A towel method just uses a rag or a spare bit of towel that you put on a surface that's a little bit, that's not filled with friction. So this is fine. And as you fold it up into a nice shape that's near the object that you want to paint, and as you need, you can rotate it. See, like that. So you got all the different angles that you can paint. There's no friction. You're going to get paint on the towel, but there's no friction on the object because you are moving the towel. You're not moving the object. This is how I had to paint the galleon, because I had to rotate it while painting it. It is so big. And then I just used the towel so I could get the different methods, the different angles. This is also how I'm going to paint this little house, because I can paint a side and then also paint the inside of that. And then, as I need, rotate it and hit up both. And then I'm probably going to put a wash on this after I add my brown. And then I can just let that wash dry face up, and then wash and wash and wash. So this is, and as you see, the towel is letting me paint without sliding it around on here, which will, again, friction gets rid of paint. And I don't have to, once it's on the towel, I don't have to handle it. Now you have to be careful. You cannot put a wet side face down on the towel, because then that way the towel is a porous, what is it? Anaerobes. You know, it's an absorbent. It's a porous absorbent surface. So if you put a wet thing on it, the towel is going to suck that moisture into it. So, and if you let that happen, then the towel is going to stick to whatever you painted. So you don't want to do that. So let's get to painting. I'm drinking a mixed drink today, by the way. It is a dark rum, and root beer. It's kind of a drink that a friend showed me. Very simple drink. First time he mixed it, it was kind of funny. We were pretty much 3 sheets to the wind, and all we had left was a couple bottles of rum and a 2 liter of root beer that we got from a pizza. Oh, I'm painting this brown. So we had the 2 liter, and he was like, "Oh, we can just mix those together. It makes a great drink," he said. And again, we were 3 sheets to the wind. He goes and he pours in a glass that had, ice in it. A glass this size, he pours it all the way up with rum, just like that. And he adds a little splash of root beer to the very top. And we just sat there laughing and said, like, that's gonna taste terrible. He's like, "No, it's delicious. Try it." And I tried it, and to his credit, no, it tasted terrible. To his credit, this tastes good. If you do the mix right, it tastes good. Just don't drown yourself in rum. That's a pro tip: is never drown yourself in rum. But it's a good drink. Not the best rum drink, but it's certainly one of them. So I wanted to start with my yellow, but instead I'm doing the edge brown, and then I'll move on to the yellow for the top. Again, when you're going from something that's just been primed, use a big a brush as you can. That's why I'm doing this 1/2 inch one. And there's no way to really like make mistakes at this point. Everything just needs to be painted brown or yellow. I added, when I got this, I do like these houses. I really hope Firelock continues to make their terrain like this. There's been some rumors abound that with the deal with Foreground, they're not going to produce as many buildings for themselves. Kind of, I understand in that it's not their bread and butter. The game requires it, but they don't like need them. If they have a supplier that has the stuff that they want. But it was a good value for what you're getting, especially for other games. I didn't have a lot of buildings because I was playing a different game when I first started playing Blood and Plunder, and my idea was to make it so I was playing a fantasy tabletop war game, and my idea was to always have my terrain so I could use it in both games. So I avoided heavy fantasy elements, and I avoided over like realistic stuff, which meant I just collected a bunch of trees and some roads and walls and more trees and stuff along those lines. Now I have, because of yearly releases and updated books, I have stopped playing the other game. So I'm now branching into things that are more Blood and Plunder related. It's not just rocky outcroppings and rivers and trees and bushes. I do like this yellow. I really like this yellow. It's like you feel like you're spreading mustard anytime you put it on. It's not as bright as a bright yellow, because it's not bright, but it looks beautiful. So that thatching I did on the other one, like if I wanted to, I am convinced I could make this house pretty easily using the thatching method, because this thatching I used, it's burlap rope braided rope that you use a comb to comb out. So very easy to do. And then the structure is all coffee stirrers for that thing. Coffee stirrers and dowels. But being able to make something relatively easily and then being able to buy something, clean it up, and prime it, those are two different things. And personally, with how kind of like labor intensive that building something is, and not a unholy amount of labor, but it's not painting. And once you build it, you still have to paint it. So, in this way, I don't mind supporting Firelock. I like the look of the buildings they have. I got the square house as well. For as simple as it is, I really like their farm field. There. For this being a video about the towel method, I'm not using the towel method a lot. Kind of have to now. There we go. Now, my favorite form of roofing that was not, unfortunately, I don't think was used a lot in the Americas, might have been used in the North. My favorite form of roofing is actually sod roofing, where it's what the Norse Vikings would use a lot. It's where you have your house to deal with the cold and inclement weather. You dig it out in the earth. So you dig like 2-3 feet down in a roughly house shape. And then you build in the ground that you cut from it, the grass and the stuff like that, the sod, you build up to make the house's walls, and then any sort of thick cold weather grass that's growing, you cut that into sheets with the earth underneath it, and in forming a frame on the top of the house, you lay that as your roofing. And so you have a living kind of living sod grass as your roof that insulates the inside of the house in the cold weather, because as long as you warm it up down there, you have this thick earth and grass that on top of the house, and it helps the grass that's on top grow because you're heating it from below, and so that will make it so it doesn't freeze to death. And at the same time, you want it to stay alive anyways. So that's kind of the most ingenious form of house of roofing that I know of. You can't, it's still going to be cold there, because it's usually in places that are below zero. But it's kind of ingenious, I always thought. Sod roofing. It's literal dirt for a roof. Alright, that was easy. Easy and fast. So that is that. Let me hit up this brown again. Nice wood beams. All right. Yeah, and then I'm going to let that dry right now. Then when that is dry, I am going to paint I'll probably put a wash on it and then set it aside, because the wash is going to just it's going to separate all of those things. It's going to dirty it up. I have this light brown highlight I'm going to put on it, so it'll kind of tone down that yellow a little bit with the brown wash and the light brown highlight. And then make the walls brown. And then the house is done. I love you, easy projects. So this has been a Blood and Pigment Plunder Basics with Guy. Make sure you hit up the blog for all your Blood and Plunder needs. We have some new articles that we have putting out. I'm working on a couple other things. And look for our new videos we have coming as well. So this is Guy signing out.